Hello there,
General Kenobi.
and welcome to the very first episode of Prequel Gang Podcast, or PGP for short.
Yep, this episode, we're doing the prequels.
So, for those who are new, well, of course, this is the first one. Prequel Gang Podcast is where we just do an audio recording of us talking about certain movies and stuff, just completely unscripted, just talking about stuff. And, like Kenny said, we're doing the prequels today. So, let's get started.
Alright, so where do we begin? Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah, this movie's a banger.
As I would say.
So anyway, I actually watched these movies in release order first. So this is the fourth Star Wars movie that I saw, and after watching it for the first time, I thought it was not as good as the original trilogy. But now, after watching it again, after getting all six of those movies on Blu-ray, I actually thought this was a really good movie for the most part. What about you, Kenny?
Yeah, me too. It definitely... I forget who plays Anakin in episode 1, but he definitely does a great job of conveying, how Anakin turned into Darth Vader starting from his very early ages.
Yeah, he was like a small child. He was still totally good from there. He was very ambitious. He was the only human who could do pod racing, apparently. And yeah. And they gave us an explanation for that. He was strong with the Force. He had a lot of midichlorians in him, and apparently a lot of people don't like how this movie explained how the Force is with midichlorians and stuff. But I think it was a sort of good explanation. What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly because before in the original trilogy, we didn't really have science behind this universe. We only had just this is the Force and it makes you float stuff. But now it's certainly it's a science as to who can use the Force and who can't. It's similar to Peter Pan in how you need pixie dust in order to be able to fly. It helps us deal with the fact that we can't use the Force, even though all of us have tried. Right.
So, the way I see it, midichlorians, they basically, they help people use the Force, but they're not the Force. I've seen people on the internet say that this is the original trilogy said that the Force is one thing and now the prequels are changing it. But no, the midichlorians aren't the Force. They help people use the Force, but they're not the Force,
Yeah, definitely. It's similar to how, in real life, enzymes, in case those of you who don't know what enzymes are, they basically assist with chemical reactions, but they don't actually perform the chemical reactions. They're basically a base for reactions to happen, similar to midichlorians and the Force, which is pretty cool how actual science can really be involved in these sci-fi movies. That's why they're called sci-fi. They're not entirely fiction. There needs to be some element of science behind it. Am I right?
Yeah. So anyway, as for the plot of The Phantom Menace, I think it was overall, pretty good. At first, I didn't think it was anything particularly special. However, I think now it was, done really well. It didn't put Anakin in center stage just yet. That's, he's introduced here, and he's, it was, a discovery that, oh, look, he has the highest midichlorian count, and, yeah, but really the plot is that the Trade Federation is trying to conquer the planet of Naboo, and they're trying to have the Queen of Naboo sign a peace treaty and stuff. And two Jedi Knights, Qui-Gon and his apprentice Obi-Wan, are trying to help the people of Naboo. Kind of. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I especially think that the ending of The Phantom Menace really set up the entire prequels, and it really led for a good bridge into the original trilogy, because basically it basically set up the entire situation. Anakin was started to want revenge because Qui-Gon died, and it set up the entire arc of Palpatine, and it really led to the themes of Star Wars, of how what I believe to be the theme of Star Wars, which is evils can lay within us. the most trusted people can be like bad people. We don't know who people truly are on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, I agree with what you're saying. I think that, people aren't always all good or all evil. There sometimes, there's like a gray area, which kind of happened with Anakin, but like we're getting a little bit off topic. Anyway, so one complaint that a lot of people have with the Phantom Menace is the character of Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, here's what I think. Like, I never really hated Jar Jar. Like, at first, like, he's a little annoying sometimes, but first of all, he's never on the screen long enough for me to actually be infuriated. And second, there are some parts of the movie where Jar Jar Binks is, like, legit funny. Like this one part, when Jar Jar was, like, next to Anakin's pod race thingy, and like Anakin was like, "Hey, don't get your hand caught in those energy binders. It'll go numb for hours." And then Jar Jar drops like a tool, and then he gets his head in those energy binders, and yeah, that was a funny moment.
Yeah, definitely. Here's the thing. I think like there's a lot of theories out there that Jar Jar was the one who was originally intended to be the Sith Lord. But the thing is, he was meant to be like a lovable character, and George Lucas meant to have like a lovable character turn against us, turn to reveal himself to actually be a Sith Lord. And that's why this movie would have had this big reveal. It would have been so shocking, but instead there was such outspoken hate against Jar Jar. And so then George Lucas basically decided just to go with the obvious pick, which is Palpatine.
Yeah. So, anyway, as for, wait, what was I gonna say?
Hate it when he does that.
I know, I liked, how...
You know what? You think, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking. I absolutely love how it just sets up lots of, like, how do I call this? Tangents that like kind of, I'm gonna call it cameos. I think the actual word is like, no, not caveats, cameos. I know that's not the word, but I'm just saying it. That like Easter eggs that like relate to the original trilogy and how Anakin turns into Darth Vader. Like, I mean, they didn't really have to incorporate C-3PO or R2-D2 in the prequels, but they did because they're lovable characters, and they're the only characters that they actually incorporated, besides Obi-Wan, into the prequels. And that's great because it gives the viewer a sense of like comfort and recognition of these movies. And that's probably what I believe led to a lot of the success of the prequels, because the viewer felt as if he or she knew these characters personally, and they felt a sense of comfort watching these movies.
Yeah, I can totally agree. Like when I saw like R2-D2 there, and they like at first I wasn't sure, maybe that's like a droid that just looks like R2-D2, but then they say, okay, what's this droid's number? R2-D2. And I was like, oh my god, it's R2-D2. And then, oh, look, it's C-3PO. Oh yeah, the feels. Right. But then another thing,
you forgot again, didn't you?
No, hold up. Oh yes, the droids, the battle droids of the Trade Federation. I think like they are really funny sometimes, and like how they're always going like Roger, Roger. And this one scene that I really liked. Hold up. Is like when they were asking Qui-Gon, where are you taking them? We're taking them to Coruscant. Where are you taking them? To Coruscant. That doesn't compute. You're under arrest. And then they just start fighting, and it's like it's funny. I don't know if that was intended to be funny, but like it was.
You guys can't see it, but right now I'm actually holding one of my Naboo Starfighters Lego sets with R2-D2 in it. I just thought it would be appropriate for the moment, being that we're talking about Episode 1. I absolutely just love the look of the spaceships in this movie because they're completely unique and original. from the original trilogy. Like in the original trilogy, these boxy looking ships that just like that you could completely being seen like that look kind of cheap, which was like completely accurate to like what a rebel organization would have. But like in the prequels, there's more like actual governments as opposed to just like the Empire, like the government of Naboo, which is obviously a very wealthy planet. So they have these like beautiful, smooth, elegant starfighters, which I absolutely love the design of.
Yeah, I like the I like the ships in this movie too. But anyway, let's talk visuals. I think that the use of CGI in this movie was mostly appropriate. Like, for example, the Gungans, including Jar Jar. Like, I don't think that could have been done with puppets or animatronics or anything like that. Like, given all the movements that they do, I think it was like appropriate to have them be CGI. I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's enough for episode 1. Do you agree?
No. We're only scratching the surface. We didn't even talk about like a lot of the stuff.
Oh god.
What?
We might want to make these into separate videos then.
Okay, no.
Each episode.
No, this is actually perfect. Anyway, a lot of the designs of the Gungans, I think they were very well designed. Although the way they talk, I'm not sure if that's supposed to like be like if that's supposed to like represent something like how they for some reason add "sa" to every pronoun, like that. I never really understood that. Like, but like other than that, the only Gungan that I actually didn't like was Boss Nass. I think he was kind of, I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah, that character kind of just felt unnecessary. Like, they only used him to give Jar Jar, like, the power to be, like, a general and to actually be a main character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And let's also talk about pod racing.
Now, this is pod racing.
No, that part comes later, Kenny. But the actual pod race, the actual pod race with Anakin, like that was all done really well. The visuals were very good. Like, yeah, it was just a very what's the word I'm looking for? It was a very exciting scene, and I think it was actually way more exciting than the Rebel run, Death Star run in Episode 4.
I think it was really similar to the Endor chase scene in episode 6, where we had like the close up views of like directly behind the speeder. I think they filmed it in a similar way too, where they just had a camera run along a track, and then they just edited in the pod racers or like the speeders in post. And that's what's great, is because you can see like actually how fast the pod racers are moving, and that's really what adds to the excitement of the scene, is the sheer speed of the pod racers. Like, they're easily moving at like 200 miles an hour, which is obviously speeds like the average human's never really been at. And that's what makes it so exciting for us. It gets our adrenaline pumping because it's so fast.
Of course, and the context behind the pod race, I think that was done really well too. Like, Anakin and his mother were like slaves to this guy named Watto. I think that's what his name. Yeah, right, Watto, and like Qui-Gon was trying to get he needed to get his spaceship repaired, but he didn't have any money, and he needed like. Then he found out that people earn money on this part of Tatooine by like betting on pod racers. So he basically was putting all his bets on Anakin, and also he was making the bet that if he won, that Anakin was going to be freed. And like I think that was done really well. Like, that set up some parts of the thing, and then after the pod race, when Anakin was going to be trained to be a Jedi, he was excited for this at first. Like, this is what he always wanted, but at the same time he has to keep talking. But at the same time he had to leave his mother. And like Yeah, like he had to leave his mother, and he was like kind of conflicted, and he was like, and he wanted to come back and free his mother, which I think that was a sweet moment. Like the first time I watched this, I was like, wow, this Anakin, he was like this is such a sweet boy. How the hell did he become Darth Vader? Like that was like what I was thinking the first time I watched this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. The actor does a great job of like portraying just how good of a kid Anakin is, and how like his turn to the dark side is really tragic.
Yeah, it was definitely very tragic when he actually turns to the dark side.
Anyway, that's a good note.
No,
to-
no. The battle on Naboo. The whole battle on Naboo. Like, first of all, the scene, the setting of the planet of Naboo. That was like, I think that's a very good like, it's a very well designed type planet. Like, it has like, can you stop? It was like there was like water and like forest and stuff, and it was just really well designed, I think. And then the battle is with like, first of all, the Gungans versus all the droids. I think that was done really well, and the lightsaber fight between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul, that was done really well too. And all the while Anakin was like blowing up the Trade Federation base without even really intending to.
Now this is pod racing.
Yeah, that's when he says that. Anyway, and during the whole thing, Duel of the Fates.
Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
Okay. So anyway,
Sorry, my voice is really sore right now. I can't sing that well.
yeah. Anyway, Anyway, the whole thing was done really well in the lightsaber fight. It was really well choreographed, and I've heard that the fact that it was choreographed being used as a negative, but the thing is, if it wasn't choreographed, the actors would be injured, if not dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, well, they wouldn't be dead because they're not real lightsabers, but
they're like still really hard.
if it wasn't choreographed, then it would have been way less interesting. Like, it would have been a bunch of guys just like waving around a bunch of lightsabers. Like, seriously.
Lightsaber battle in episode 4.
Yeah, honestly, neither of us really liked the lightsaber battle on episode 4 because it didn't. Although it did have tension, the lightsaber fight itself
Sucked.
yeah, it wasn't really interesting at all. Anyway, that's definitely.
No.
I know, Artemi. I know you want to go on, but we're definitely done, Artemi.
One more thing.
Okay, final thing.
Okay, when Darth Maul was like put like at the end of the lightsaber battle, Obi-Wan like basically cuts Darth Maul, and he falls down a hole. But like, why was there like a deep hole? This whole thing was taking place on Naboo. It wasn't like in space. Why was there like a deep hole there?
That was meant to be like a reactor. That's like how there would be like a generator kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like mitochondria. Like, the more surface area something has, the more like room for like power generators or stuff you're going to be able to put inside it.
Okay.
So that's what it was supposed to be.
Okay, so anyway, episode 1, very good movie. Like, I actually think it's like better than episode 4. Like, honestly. Overall.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Anyway, that's definitely gonna do it for this video. We'll see you in the next Prequel Gang podcast, and keep having the high ground.
Keep having the high ground. Bye.